Evolve Labs' new AI rendering tool, Veras, is now available in Rhino. In this video, we'll be looking at some workflows using it as an application for generative design and architectural ideation. Let's check it out.
We begin our demonstration in Rhino. As you can see, I've already created a form. This is going to act as our skyscraper. Some useful tips: it helps to have a ground plane and some items in the view for scale. So in this case, I've got some trees placed. This is going to help Veras understand what kind of scale we're looking for when we start doing our renderings. So I'm going to open Veras by typing it in the command prompt, and I'm going to align our windows here so we have a side-by-side view. And what I'm going to do is just hit render and see what it gives me. Okay, so it looks like it gave me a skyscraper. There you can see there's some trees and some vegetation around on the ground. Let's try to put in some specific locations such as skyscraper in Miami and render. And watch now how the trees have turned into palm trees. The landscape looks like Miami, looks like we have the ocean in the background. Now we'll try skyscraper in Alaska. And the trees update to show pine trees. Looks more like an Alaskan landscape. So this is one way that Veras will work when we simply change the text prompts and give it some more context for a specific location. Now we'll get a bit more creative with the text prompt. So let's type a beautiful high-end rendering of a modern parametric skyscraper backlit with soft white lights and glass curtain wall. Parametric architecture, city background. We'll render that and see what we get now. Okay, so that's quite a different image here. We actually got a highly polished image rendering of a skyscraper with a city background. But let's have some more fun now, and we're going to pivot to using Grasshopper with Rhino instead of only Rhino. So I will open Grasshopper, and I have a Grasshopper script that we've already created here, which is a fairly simple script, but what I'm going to do is focus in on these sliders, these parameters for our model, which is basically a representation of our model in Grasshopper. So these sliders adjust the parameters, which will affect the geometry of the model. So I'm going to start adjusting the number of floors I have by adjusting this particular slider. Something to really emphasize about Veras is that it uses the context of your model or building, such as number of floors, or if I could start putting the rotation on my tower, or change the number of segments I'm using. It uses that as a context for your renderings, along with whatever text prompts we give it. So we'll return over here, and we'll enter into the text prompts, beautiful high-end rendering of twisting modern parametric skyscraper. And we will just leave the rest unedited and hit render. And now Grasshopper is starting to influence our results, and we're starting to see some of that twisting show up in the renderings. So now what I'm going to do is start adjusting the undulation in the geometry. So using this graph mapper in Grasshopper, I can play with the undulation and get it exactly where I want it. Rendering that one. Look at that. That one turned out really good. So I'm going to do one more and see how it looks. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start changing this overhang slider. So if I add an overhang and then come back to my text prompt and add parametric undulating balconies and render. That's looking good, but I think I'm going to pull these balconies back a bit and make them a bit more subtle and render that. And that was really cool. So I'm going to render one more, and then I'm going to come back to our graph mapper here. And I'm going to start making some adjustments to the form of our model. And the main point to take away from this is that we can create many options very quickly. This is what's so great about Veras. We can test it out, see if we like the results, and if not, change a few parameters and see if we like it better. So we can create really quick iterations of different designs. And the power of this is that we are creating parametric modeling with AI, doing generative design. Something to keep in mind is that the human is still in charge making the decisions. We just have some new power tools in our belt to help us out. When I start to get results that I like, that's when I bump the number of renderings up to 4. So Veras is going to produce 4 images instead of just 1, using the same parameters. So here are some of the results that I was getting that I thought were pretty cool. And along the way, I was making adjustments to the basic shape of the model using the graph mapper in Grasshopper. And I was making some adjustments to the text prompts as well. Some of the text prompts that I was changing or adding were to add bird's nest architecture or twisted wood facade. Or sometimes you get inspiration from the actual images that Veras produces, and you can take bits and pieces and add them to your own text prompts just to emphasize those features. One thing to notice is that if I come back into Rhino and start making changes to our model using Grasshopper, Veras will continue to run the renderings using the previous model when we first hit render. So the changes I'm making in Rhino will not affect the renderings that are already underway. I'm really liking these results that Veras has given us. And this now becomes a great example of using Veras for ideation. You can see right here that the AI put a little bush right here on this balcony. And it's kind of given me some inspiration to alter the text prompt and the type of design we're going for. So what if we were to pursue a biophilic design in our renderings? So I could come over here and adjust the text prompt. Or better yet, we have this post out on our forum, which we already explored this a little bit, and we've saved the prompts that we used. So something you can do is save any prompt that has given you great results in the past and use them as a template for future renderings. So I'm going to copy this prompt and paste it in here into my text prompt area in Veras. So I can start with that as a template and remove any redundancies or make any edits to the prompt that I want for this particular rendering. But then I can hit render and see what we get. And look at that. We're getting some really, really interesting results. So now with the combination of Grasshopper, Rhino, and our text prompt template, we're getting some really great images that are pretty inspiring. Now I'm just going to come back to Grasshopper and start making some changes to the form of our model. So kind of like we did before, I'll change the size of the balconies or the rotation of the model. And then I'll just use the same prompts and run some more renderings in Veras. Again, if you're liking the results that you're getting, you can always bump the number of renderings up to 4, which will give you more images every time you hit render using the same parameters. So here are a bunch of images that Veras produced as we explored this biophilic design a bit more. So now we'll employ another AI solution to help us with our renderings in Veras. We'll open ChatGPT and ask it to help us with the text prompt. I'm going to type, "Give me word prompts inspired by biomimicry architecture." Taking that a bit further, I entered, "Give me some word prompts for a biomimicry facade." And I see honeycomb-like on the list, and I think we're going to run with that. So I'm going to enter into my prompt, "Inspired by a honeycomb," and render that and see what Veras gives us. And these turned out so cool. I really like these results. But let's go back to ChatGPT and take it a bit further. So I'm going to ask it, "Give me some visual words that describe a beehive." And I'm going to copy and paste these into my prompt and see what we get. Hexagonal cells, honeycomb patterns, hive structure, geometric pattern. We'll render and we'll start to adjust the form a bit again in Grasshopper and just keep those renderings going. These are so cool. I'm really happy with the results that Veras is producing using these parameters. Going to bump the number of renderings back up to 4, keep running them. You can see how this facade is looking like a beehive. It's starting to pull in some of those geometric patterns, hexagonal patterns. These images are so cool. I really love these results. And once again, you can see how using the combination of Grasshopper, Rhino, and our text prompt, a text template, or even ChatGPT for inspiration, all of that combined with Veras, we have a really powerful tool for architectural design ideation.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you'd like some more information about Veras or any of our other tools, take a look at our website, evolvelab.io. Have a great day.